Okay, it's going.
Okay.
Alright. So, you guys have already missed ghost sex and Bigfoot, so we decided we probably should start recording this now.
Yeah, Amanda had a really good point. So, roll title.
Warning. The topics discussed on this podcast are subject to adult themes and languages. We seek to unravel the unexplained and unknown. This is Encounters.
This is Encounters.
Yay.
Oh, Amanda, try not to sound too enthused.
Do we have to say our name each time?
No, I don't even think we need to say our name. You guys know who we are.
Today, guys, we're talking about shadow people. And before we started recording, me and Dakota were talking about it, trying to set all this stuff up, and it's already been interesting.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, guys. Shadow people are what we would consider a natural phenomenon. I don't know. God.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think you guys know. It is so hard to find anything on the topic shadow person that's not on BuzzFeed or some other kind of like conspiracy website. You really have to dig in and try and find some things. And even what you find, it's all over the map. There's people that believe shadow people are ghosts. There's people that believe shadow people are interdimensional travelers. There's people that believe they're shades. There's people that believe that they're sentient, like hauntings, demons. I mean,
some people think they're aliens.
I'm sure there's someone that thinks it's Jesus. I don't know. But shadow people, according to all the websites that we looked at and all the videos we watched, can be anything, anyone, anywhere.
Yeah. They kind of range from everything. They're like, if you see something creepy, it's probably a shadow person. And it probably is a shadow person.
And it probably
everywhere.
is. I mean, the thing is, the rules of what a shadow person is can kind of be like so limitless that,
right?
You know, you see a bird shadow fly through the woods. That could be a shadow person, or it was a bird.
Right.
I don't know.
But honestly, like, I looked up the characteristics of what makes a shadow person, like, and they kind of are like, it's normally a man. It can be a woman, though. It's, normally staring at you or, like, watching you from a distance. Or it could be, like, a ghost that's, like, haunting you. Or it could be this. It could be that. It's so many different things.
Absolutely. I looked up the Michigan Other Side reporting, and they had an article that stated that the most, like, what's the word? The most eclectic, the thing you see the most about a shadow person is that it is a dark, human-shaped shadow body. It usually gives off a male presence and is sometimes reported as having red, glowing eyes.
I read somewhere that it has red or green or white glowing eyes.
Well, I didn't read anything about the green or white, but I do know that there is a lot of reports about the red glowing eyes. And I mean,
I saw most commonly it said red. Most common is red. Like if it's going to have eyes, because most of the time they don't have any facial features. It's just like a dark, tall male presence.
The thing is, I think where the male presence comes in is from everything that I've seen physically of what people describe shadow people to be, how they interpret them and actually like draw them out. It's an amalgamation of just darkness. Like, if you think of your shadow literally coming off the ground to stand and look at you.
Exactly.
That's what it would be, except it has glowing red eyes. And, or, you know, green or white or whatever.
Most of them, probably red.
And the male presence, I think, is interpreted as it feels aggressive because these things feed on fear and they want to make you scared, so they try and, like, dominate you. And that's a very masculine, you know, I don't feel comfortable. be scared. So I think that's why they say it's a male.
Yeah, very true. And sometimes, though, shadow people do have a figure to them. And most of the time when people see a shadow person like that, they see them as a male, and normally a tall male. And they're normally wearing like a cloak of some kind. But anything, if it looks like a person or if it's just a mask, it will have depth to it. That's how you can tell that it is a shadow person of some kind.
Like the opacity of it. Like you can almost just not see through it. It is solid.
Exactly. It's just darkness within darkness. It's like the worst. Always watching people. They don't talk. That's another big thing that you can tell the difference between like if this thing is a shadow person or if it was like a haunting. This thing's not going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's just going to watch you.
That's another distinguishing factor that Michigan's Other Side reports. It says they typically do not communicate, but seem to have an intelligence about them.
Yeah, and I got this from Paranation, I think.
Paranation.
Maybe, I don't know. I read this article by this guy named Cliff, and he was telling. Well, I don't know if it's a guy, it's a person named Cliff. And he kind of gave the list of distinguishing factors about shadow people.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we said at the beginning. You know, there's so many different determining factors. There's so many different classifications that people have come up for shadow people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just really hard to find a general balance, like that layman's term. So we're trying to give you like what across the board is considered a shadow person.
Yeah, because when we were talking and discussing like this episode, I was telling him we should start out the episode just like saying what a shadow person was, and within like 2 seconds we're both going, well, no, that's not exactly like what I had read. Like there's so many different ways to kind of define a shadow person, but most people say that it's a humanoid figure that is a supernatural spirit or entity.
One popular explanation for shadow people is that they are beings somehow trapped or traveling between parallel worlds of the multiverse, thus they only appear as shades to us in our reality. So
I could totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's what Harley Quinn said on her she's the moderator of the why has it gotta be like that? It's so difficult to say. Well, this is Harley Quinn, who is a moderator for a message board, and she also writes for Dark Planet. And it's a concept that I think makes a lot of sense, especially with
Me too.
the entities that specifically don't communicate. There's a subsection of these creatures that give enough of an argument to state that they're not all evil in nature. So the shade element states that they're just visiting, but it's still really creepy to think that when they visit, they just want to stare at us at the edge of our bed and make us scared.
Right, I completely agree, because as I was doing research for this podcast, I was watching some YouTube videos, and it seemed like most of the stories I was hearing was about them staring at people and watching people, never interacting with people. And it's almost like I can almost understand the theory about them being aliens or something like that, because they just watch people. And there is a certain type that when you notice them, these shadow people, they take off running. They really just want to observe what people are doing, and I just find it really interesting.
There was that YouTube video that we watched. It had them panning over this room, and this fucking shadow literally just like lurches back and like disappears into pitch blackness. But you literally see this thing like lift up and jump back.
But even the ones who don't run away, they're always just watching. They're never really, like, unless they are towards more like the violent type of shadow person, any other type of shadow person you're going to get is just watching. And it's just like either it wants you to know it's watching or it doesn't want you to know it's watching, but it is watching you.
It's also worth noting that besides showing up at the bedside, they're known to show up at supposed haunted locations, cemeteries, and have even been reported in wooded areas going back centuries. Native Americans have reported shadow people.
Right. I was reading articles that were saying that it went back to like ancient Egypt, like 600 BCE, and Romans were believed that they came from the underworld. Like, they have been saying shadow people go back pretty much since forever.
So is it worth noting then that they're technically maybe not ghosts and are more of a cryptid?
Exactly, because this is where me and Dakota started going back and forth. Because there are some claims of spirits turning into shadow people. I don't know how true these claims are, but for the most part, it seems to both he and I, from our research, that these are not really ghosts.
Well, I think that what we need to do is we need to just break it down. What are the different types of fucking shadow people? And then maybe we can make a decision on whether they are intelligent spirits or are they cryptids that defy the knowledge that humanity currently has.
What? Okay, well, I get this list from the same place, the Paranormal article, and the first type I got were like lurking shadow people, and these are the type that are going to be the ones that stand at the edge of your bed and are watching you, but want it to be very clear that they're watching you. Like, they're not the type that are going to run away. They're the type that actually kind of feed off of you knowing that they're there.
Jason Alfit of the Mysterious Universe reports that one of the types that he's documented are benign shadows. Shadow peoples that seem to travel briefly through a person's life. People report seeing them as a child, and they appear to walk through a room, never acknowledging them or anything. It's just like...
Yeah.
It's just like shadows moving on the wall that a child can remember throughout adolescence. Jason says, I never felt unholy fear, just the fear of watching a dark human-shaped trespasser walk past my bed. Which I could imagine would be fucking terrifying.
Oh, yeah, no, I know from personal experience that is not fun. So I feel like that's kind of the same... They kind of the same things, different names. Because he calls that the visitor, which they don't want to be interacting with you, but you see them. I feel like those are the type that kind of, like we were talking about earlier, that were like run away and things like that. So I feel like those are kind of the same entity.
Well, they also, when in his list, he lists your lurker as the negative shadows. Because
I like that.
They're mostly associated with a feeling of unnatural terror.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, the lurkers, they feed off your fear. Those are the type. So, what was it? Unnatural lurker?
Negative shadow.
Negative lurking shadows. But those are the scary kind. And then he listed one I really thought was interesting called the Omen, which these are a lot like the lurkers, but you'll happen to see the shadow person right before something negative happens in your life, and then after this thing happens, you don't tend to see them anymore.
Ugh.
Did you have one of those on your list?
No.
Because I was watching one of those YouTube videos, and the story was about a guy who saw a shadow person the same month. 1 year later, his mom passed away, and then he never saw the shadow person again. So that is a type that is so freaky to me.
Well, see, and that really speaks to it being like a time-traveling being. Or
exactly.
Not a time-traveling being, but like a reality-traveling being.
Right.
Like, they're just like popping in. They're like, hey, I got some bad shit, but I can't tell you because I don't speak what you fucking speak. I'm going to look spooky as shit. Don't get scared, but someone's going to die. Bye.
Right. Sorry, something's about to happen. Something negative is about to happen to you. Oh, that's so terrifying. I would not be cool with that.
Not at all.
Because, like, just the thought. Because another thing that freaks me out about this whole thing is that there are a type of shadow people that are violent or
Yes.
negative. What is it? Can't think of the word.
Oh, Maleficent?
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't think of that word. But
That's not it. That's the name
No.
of a damn Disney queen.
Wait. No.
Evil. Evil is the word she wants.
Hello? Oh, here it goes. It's recording again. That was so
That is
weird. It
weird.
just stopped recording. I don't know what's happening.
Girl, maybe you do have a shadow person. Maybe you do need to summon it.
Well, no, I was gonna tell a story later, but like now I'm kind of scared to tell the story.
I'm here with you. I'm here with you. I
You're
am.
not though. You're not. When we hang up the phone, Dakota.
I'll call you right back.
When we hang up the phone tonight, and I'm trying to go to sleep, you ain't gonna be here.
No, I won't be.
Okay, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties right now, so it's making me a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to power through this. So forgive me if I go quiet.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. There's been a few times that you've had some feedback come back on my headphones.
I'm really scared, Dakota. I don't know if I can do this topic
You're gonna
no
be
more.
just fine. You're gonna be just fine. What do we do when we have negative energy?
Okay.
We say, you do not have domain in my space.
You do not, man. You do not
Of course,
have
you
domain
could just
here.
piss it off and then it get real
Anything
mad.
is here. I know, right? Because, man, it started acting up after I started talking about the haunting. Shit, that scared me, guys. I'm sorry. I'm scared a little bit. Okay, anyway, yes, like what Dakota was saying, this shit is real.
Oh, I cannot even.
Don't play around with
The
shit
door
you don't
is easy to
understand.
open. It is not easy to shut again.
And
When you open the door, it's easy to do. But getting it to stay shut the second time is not as easy. Once you break that seal, you're opening yourself up to a lot. And if you don't have the spiritual strength that we talked about in last week's episode, ranted about, more likely, yes. If you don't have that kind of strength, you won't be able to defend yourself. Now, if you want to build yourself up, do some research, make yourself fully aware, and then attempt you, I can't stop you. But I'm saying I do not advise summoning a shadow person into your house.
because if you're summoning a shadow person, you're gonna get more of this like haunting we're telling you about.
Or you could end up with something that you don't even know what the fuck
Yeah,
it is.
right? Because no, sorry.
Like, no, seriously though, think about that. You're trying to get a shadow person and you summon a jinn.
Yeah.
Oh, good luck. You got an Islamic demon that's ready to eat your soul.
Right? You don't know what you're doing. These people just say that you're summoning a shadow person, which I don't know why you would want to do that. They're scary. They won't talk to you. They're going to
Yeah,
stare
that's
at
not
you.
high on my list of paranormal to-dos.
Right? If I'm going to do anything,
Summon a shadow person.
I'm going to get me one of those sex demons. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, I can't even with you and the pirate sex lady. I'm done.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm joking.
Moving on to another type of shadow person. One of the last ones I have here is known as the hooded shadows, which are dressed as monks.
Oh, shit.
And when people encounter these shadow people, they usually feel a deep rage of, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
bubbling behind this cowl. So, like, I don't know, Friar Tuck, but pissed. I don't have any, I didn't even know that was a fucking thing.
I've never heard of that, actually. I'm going to be honest.
Amanda, do you have any other ones?
No, that was all I had.
You don't have one other one?
No, damn. I said that was all I had.
You don't have anything about the Hat Man?
All I got is that he wears a hat, man.
Oh my god, okay. So, the final entity that we're going to talk about specifically with the categories of shadow people is the Hat Man, which is an amalgamation much like the regular shadow person, except he has a fedora.
A fedora. Yes, like a 1930s fedora.
And this is the one that kind of just breaks the mold for me. Like, this is the one that makes me go, okay, wait a minute. So maybe it is a ghost.
Yeah.
Because this creature is, well, I don't know if you can even call it a creature. This person, I don't know, maybe, is known to dress in, like, business suits.
Yeah.
Like, but, like, a shadow, so it's not really a business suit, but he just looks well-dressed with a nice fedora.
Yeah.
Some people say it looks like a wide-brim hat. I'm thinking, like, The Undertaker in the 90s kind of, like, hat.
Like the wrestler?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly. Yes, exactly.
That's the hat I picture.
Yeah, and a lot of people,
but-
this is the most common, I feel like, shadow person. A lot of people see this or talk about it. When they think of shadow people, they think of this thing.
Absolutely. And most people can't determine if it's a shadow person, a ghost, or a demon, because depending on your source, it changes
or an alien.
as it's been reported all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's described as really fucking tall,
Like 6 or 7 feet, yeah. Really tall.
Exactly. And basically looks like the Undertaker from the 90s.
Oh, that's scary.
Like the
He's
Resurrection
still-
Undertaker.
The Undertaker still wrestles.
Did he die?
No, he still wrestles.
Oh, he still wrestles. I thought you said he still rests. And I was like, he still rests?
No, so he's still the Undertaker
Like, is he
from
dead?
today.
Well, I thought his whole thing was that he killed you.
Yeah. But yeah, he looks like that guy. Imagine that guy at the end of your bed. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That
Ready to just consume you.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that man at the edge of your bed, but you can't see his face. Or he's got glowing eyes.
But
Like, you want that?
This entity stands out specifically because there have been reports of this entity choking, harassing, assaulting his victims. In fact, there are a couple episodes of Coast to Coast AM that specifically address shadow people, and it was one of the first kind of mentions. In fact, it was a Native American elder, Thunderstrikes, who in 2001 was on the show, that brought the idea of shadow people to, like, the public eye, and they encouraged people to, like, send in fucking, like, pictures and drawings, and just got an mass amount of response. You can go on the World Wide Web to their websites and go into their archive. I think there's a subscription fee. For some there aren't, for some there are. Specifically, it's the episode from April 12th, 2001, where Thunderstrike speaks, and then we get the special shadow person, like, extraordinaire, Heidi Hollis on March 2008 and April 2013. It's a really cool source for, Coast to Coast AM really brought paranormal aspects into the light and gave people a place to listen, a place to respond, a place to talk, a community. And it's really a great source, I guess. That's where I went for a lot of my information. But she specifically describes shadow people as dark silhouettes with human shapes, and they flicker in and out of peripheral vision, and claims that people have told her that shadow people have jumped on their chest and choked them. But really, if you want a source on the Hat Man, that's whose book you need to go to. It's Heidi Hollis's The Hat Man and the true story of evil encounters.
Yeah, I think I read something about her as well, like, she was very much on the side of those are, like, demonic, almost, like.
Yeah, the encounters in the book are said to, like, be really, really, really nightmarish and terrifying visitations from the Hat Man. And,
which, actually, this kind of leads into something interesting. A lot of people who have sleep paralysis say they encounter shadow people. And if you know anything, well, I mean, not anything, but if you know about sleep paralysis, you know that some people, when they start waking up, they feel like something is on their chest, choking them. And a lot of the time they describe it as the shadow people.
Yeah. And that goes back for centuries. Like, we have paintings where there's demons sitting on people's chests as they're asleep, the nightmare, all of these different wondrous, like, beautiful Renaissance paintings, basically depicting sleep paralysis and seeing things.
Yeah. Which I think that really leads to the, like, interdimensional aspect of these shadow people too, because there's something, as a person who suffers from sleep paralysis, there's something about being in that in-between world between being asleep and being awake. And when you're in that world and you're actually able to move around in it for a second and you see a shadow thing either staring at you or on top of your chest or I had an instance with my sleep paralysis where there was a shadow person standing in my room, and I lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex at the time, and I had watched this movie called How to Be a Serial Killer, and in this movie his catchphrase was perspective is reality. And as I'm like feeling that I'm completely awake, my body feels awake, but I kind of know at the same time, like, this is not right. I don't feel like I'm in the awake world. I hear perspective is reality, and then this thing tosses me out the window. And for a split second, I really thought I was falling out of a window. It was terrifying. And then I obviously woke up, and like, for something to feel so real, it really kind of like intrigues me, and I feel like, and that's why I get into this stuff and I learn so much about these things, because there's a realness to it when you're in those moments that you can't even describe. And people might be like, oh well, you're just hallucinating, but you're like, you weren't there. You know what I mean?
So these are living nightmares, y'all.
Right? Yeah, that happens all the time. I find myself trying to scream. That's how I know I'm out of the episode. Because it's literally just laying there, and I just see my entire room, and I just cannot move. I cannot scream. I cannot do anything. And I'm just staring. And there have been times where I've not seen anything, and there have been times where I have seen things. Like, sometimes, like that time I talked about falling was a shadow. There's been other times it's been shadows. Sometimes it was like a tiny furry creature that was like sitting on my dresser. And I was like, oh no, I'm absolutely going crazy now. Like,
a Furby that you didn't know was there.
Right? Sometimes I know, to me, where I struggle, I don't know how this turned into about sleep paralysis, but sometimes I struggle because I know it's something caused by like stress, and I know it's nothing like supernatural, but sometimes when you get into those moments, you just see things that you can't explain, and you're like, oh, everyone tells you, no, these are hallucinations, you're actually just asleep, but you're like, but I'm wide awake. I'm awake. I know what it feels like to be awake. I just can't move. I can't scream. I can't talk. I just can't do anything. But I am definitely awake.
But I'm right here, and you're not. And
right?
I've lived through it.
Right.
I've been here. And you didn't.
Yeah.
So don't tell me I'm crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know, because I share my story knowing that people probably are like, oh my god, this lady is just insane. But like, there's something very true to this stuff, and so that's why you definitely should not go out and summon a shadow person to yourself, because you might,
especially because the majority of the cases that are reported say that they are either indifferent or negative. There are not very many positive reports. I don't think I read one positive report that I could find on the internet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm just saying, in an age of fake news, don't fall for the shadow people are good. That's what they want. They want you to think they're good. They want you to let them in. But you know what? You got to say, sorry.
Don't want to do
I'm
that.
going to play with my Ouija board instead.
No, don't ever play with that stupid Ouija board. Talk about doors.
You know, I just want to bring this up and throw this out there for you, Amanda, because it's kind of crazy to me. I was reading on Mysterious Universe as well about the Hat Man, and there is a interesting theory that Nick Redfern throws out there that it is related to the Men in Black.
That wouldn't surprise me. Like I've been saying, aliens. There's reports that the aliens.
What's your take on the Men in Black? Do you believe they exist?
Girl, that's a whole different show. I don't know much about the Men in Black. I have not even seen the movies. So, I don't know yet. And I really don't want them to come knocking on my door, so we're not even going to talk about it.
Fair enough.
I live in New Mexico, y'all. I'm not trying to deal with all that.
Well, and that's the thing Nick goes through to prove. He was like, there's a lot of religious ties into what a shadow person is, especially right now, because the only thing that seems to define it is a demonic presence. But he does say that he does believe that there's a link there, and that it's not simply a minion of the devil.
Maybe, because like I was saying before, there's something about being in that in-between world where I can understand why these shadow people are there. So maybe there's something to it. I mean...
You mean being a demonic presence?
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think... I mean, we got things that are feeding off of fear. They're definitely got, in my opinion, some kind of demonic presence. I don't know if they're technically our version of demonic. They could be any world religion. They could be like some kind of international thing that we don't even know about.
Exactly.
Kind of demon.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't think this kind of fits in this normal category with these shadow people. There's something to them, especially if people are seeing them when they're waking up.
Especially if people are looking for them.
Yeah.
The thing is, they say that you have the opportunity to see them all throughout, like, the day. It's just peripheral things will move. And I'm not going to lie, I've seen things move out of my periphery. Like, I've been sitting in my living room here where I'm living now in Chicago, and, like, I swear to you that I will see, like, someone move through the house. And I know no one's in the house with me, but someone will move through the house, and then Delilah, my little dog, will, like, step up and, like, look at it and just be like, "Roof." And she's a coward, so she, like, does that and then, like, runs behind me, but still, so, like... And they say dogs are aware. They say animals are aware. Animals and children.
And children. I have a story when I was a child where I saw a shadow person.
Oh?
And when I was 5, in this house we lived in, every night something would wake me up, like physically shake me, hit me, but I would never look at it. That was like my thing. I would never look. I would always either pretend I was sleeping or keep my back to it. And one night I finally gave in and looked at it, and it was just a shadow, just a man standing there. It scared the ever-living shit out of me. I turned back around. But after that day, I really didn't deal with it. I saw some, like, doors move sometimes, but I never really saw it again.
That's terrifying as shit.
Yeah, then we moved out of that house.
You damn right you moved out of that house.
And when I lived in that house, I would have nightmares. Like I said, I would see doors opening and closing. Like, it was very, very weird. But
did you have any, like actual interactions like that afterwards?
No.
So that's where it gets me back to ghosts rather than interdimensional being, because that situation leads me to believe that shadow person was tied to that location.
To the house. Yes, and I believe that.
Because if it's a demonic presence, it would have followed you.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. There's so many different... But
there's also the aspect of what if it was a ghost that had, like, been feeding off of energy for a while and created, like, a residual body to shake you, or presented itself as something to terrify you? What if it wasn't technically shadow person? What if it was the goddamn chupacabra? Who knows?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what we said in the beginning. There's so many different levels to shadow people. There's the one like that I believe completely was like a haunting type of situation where it was tied to that very location. But in the same breath, I do still suffer from things like sleep paralysis. You don't know that thing, and now like my stuff's messing up as we're recording this. We don't know that the thing isn't following me. I've always kind of had supernatural occurrences in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So who knows?
Well,
we have to see.
My question for you, Amanda, and I want you to think back to that day without getting scared, but was he wearing a hat?
When I remember it, it was a hood. It wasn't like the monk type of hood, but like not a hood really. It was just
because the reports with the Hat Man are straight up choking, strangling, like shaking, anything like that.
I know.
And the sleep paralysis ties into it too. So I'm just wondering.
So I don't know. I don't remember the hat. I just remember it being a black mass that was shaped like a man.
Ugh.
Like ever since I discovered, I think I was watching either the Dead Files or Ghost Hunters, and they explained what a shadow person was.
It was the Dead Files, I can assure you that.
Yeah, I remember her. She talks a lot about.
That was my first introduction to what a shadow person was watching the Dead Files with Amy.
Yeah.
Doing her walkthrough and describing these tall, like, lanky creatures that just wanted nothing but fear and dread out of you.
Exactly. Yeah, ever since I found out what shadow people were, I knew that experience. I thought it was a ghost for the longest time. But once I discovered that, I knew it was a shadow person because of exactly how I felt. I was terrified to sleep in that room to the point I was getting sick. Like, it was a horrible experience. It opened my eyes to the supernatural. I became very, very scared of the Bloody Mary lore. Someone explained it to me from that day on. I have been terrified to this day. We probably won't ever do an episode about it just because I don't want to say the name too many times.
What, Bloody Mary? You mean Bloody Mary?
Stop!
Oh, anyway. Damn! I got you.
Anyway, so I knew that experience with a shadow person. It's very scary. They really do feed off fear, and I find it interesting that some are so in this world and some are so in like the in-between kind of sleeping world. Because I never knew they were tied to sleep paralysis until we started doing research on it.
And see, the things you learn, the more you know, knowledge is power.
Da-da-da-da.
And if you do have your own accounts with shadow people or want to do some more research on other people's accounts and whatnot, Amanda and I did stumble across a website that I think could be beneficial just to read up on some things and whatnot. We don't know how official it is, but it is the official Shadow People's Archive. And you can find it on any Google search. We didn't use anything from it because there's a giant copyright on the front of it, but yeah. I would suggest going there and reading some of the stuff there or posting your story there. Maybe you can find some fellow people that have had similar encounters like that, and you guys can grow and commune with one another and heal. That's what we're here for. Healing.
We're here to heal. That's why we share. We were going to try to find a story. Did you find any stories specifically about shadow people?
I mean, most of it's not really stories that I've found. It's mostly just accounts. And they're all basically the same, you know. I was asleep and I saw a shadow move. I was asleep and this shadow man stood up with a hat on and he choked me. Like,
Jesus. I'm so glad. I've never been choked, by the way. In my sleep paralysis, nothing ever. I mean, I've been thrown out a window, but it was pretty far away.
And I don't want to sound unsympathetic. That is not how it is at all. I don't want to share some of these people's stories without having their permission. And the stuff that we did find, I think, is great. But I myself have never had an encounter with a shadow person other than seeing things move peripherally. So I don't really know what to share. Honestly, do you have any stories you found?
I feel like... no, not really.
See?
I feel like it'd be good to talk about what our theories are. Really, Because I find that the more I did research on shadow people, the more confused I got about it. I don't know if you kind of felt the same
I definitely thought we
way.
were going to be coming into this episode and just being like, oh, they're demons.
Right? Like,
It's
we have,
like,
it's clear.
we picked this as
This
a
is what-
Paranormal 101 episode to be like, here's a brief overview. Guess what, y'all? There's nothing brief about a fucking shadow person.
It's so complicated. There's so many different things. Like, they just...
They defy any label that you put on them because
Exactly.
there's such a wide array of reports and accounts and encounters, and
Right.
there's just so many different qualifying factors for what a shadow person is. You guys tell us what you think they are.
Right? I want to know what you guys think. Because I could see ghost, I can see demon, I can see ancient creature, I could see alien. I don't know. It sounds like all three wrapped into one scary ass bow.
It all comes down to what you believe, much like a lot of things in parapsychology.
Right? Exactly. It really does. Depending where you land on that spectrum is probably how you're going to feel about shadow people.
So yeah, that's it for us, y'all. I mean, that's all we got for shadow people. I mean,
Right? I hope we covered it.
No, I'm just kidding, y'all. If you guys have anything you want us to explain, you just give us feedback. Absolutely. Let us know. Hit us up on Facebook. We have the Encounters Facebook page. Feel free. Start a discussion. That's how we learn things.
We love other opinions. We will love to hear your opinions. It will probably help shape ours better. We're open for that. So,
And if there's anybody out there that wants to be a dedicated researcher and send Amanda and I shit, feel free to post it.
That's
feel free to let
right.
us know. Send it to us.
'Cause
We'll look.
we'll read
Promise
it.
ya.
Everything on that page I read, kind of. Especially YouTube videos. I love those because then I don't have to read.
Okay, guys. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week when we talk about Dracula's concubine.
What is that?
I have no idea. I just made it up. What is our topic for next week? Do you want to do Amityville?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of research on it. Yeah, we can do Amityville.
Until next time, this is Dakota
And Amanda.
signing off. Stay spooky, y'all.